Once you start to fear what you're thinking about, you're in trouble
How do you when that
because you become self-conscious.
David Marshall Silverman began his acting career in high school as a captain of his forensic team. Some of David's credits include The Walking Dead, Cobra Kai, Atlanta, The Resident, and Stranger Things. On the big screen, David's credits include The Hill, Selma, The Founder, American Made, and Anchorman 2. He has had the pleasure of working alongside Tom Cruise, Jessica Lange, Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, Will Ferrell, Amy Adams, Colin Firth, Tony Collette, Dennis Quaid, Machine Gun Kelly, and The Rock.
Once you start to fear what you're thinking about, you're in trouble
How do you when that
because you become self-conscious.
when you have that sense,
Yeah.
it is like, "Oh, I'm gonna slip out of this. I'm tired. It's after lunch. I had a cheese taco or whatever."
Yeah. Oh,
What brings you back?
did you really have a cheese taco? I mean, is that part of the
That's
thing?
my dream.
Okay. Just just freaking just cheese?
The cheese taco.
Is it wrapped in cheese? Like a
It's
cheese
wrapped in
tortilla?
mozzarella, gourmet mozzarella.
How do you get yourself out of, like, the death loop, the death spiral? Like, you're in your
Well,
life.
having this
It's sports psychology, right?
Yeah,
Because you could
but
be thinking, "I'm not gonna make the shot, I'm not gonna make the shot," and guess what? You're probably not gonna make the shot, because if you're in that, you're not thinking about the things you need to think about to make the shot. So how do you get out of that?
yeah.
Really, it's a miracle that you can get out. I think that it's like base I think not narcissism, but arrogance helps.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Yeah, because, you need actors, most of them are pretty they're on the spectrum of arrogance for
Okay,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Well, but you kinda have to be because you have to believe, and so are, high like, elite athletes.
Yeah.
You have to believe that you have got this, and how do you believe that? It's only a thought. It's a thought. "I've got this." Why do you think that? Well, because I'm me. I know I can do this. Well, how do you know you can do this? Well, because I'm talented, or I have gifts, or I don't have to worry about anything. And so you become bigger than the fear, because you're, that part of you. Now it can be that can be connected. That can be spiritual. I don't think it needs to be necessarily coming from an
Narcissism.
evil
Yeah.
place. You can believe that God has given you the right to just be, and that any manifestation of your spirit is pure and perfect and right. And so that allows you to anything goes. It's like,
So how do you in that moment though, where your mind wants to go to a place where it starts to overthink itself? Like,
oh,
how do you bring it back? Like, how do you just harness it and be able to go, "No, I'm locking in," because you just tell yourself, "'Cause this is what I do." Is there or are there little tricks that you hold your breath or something?
I mean, breathing certainly can help you bring you back to your, if you're having a panic attack, I think, breathing is hugely important, to get you back at least to where you're, in your body again. But
Mm.
I think that there's a spiritual principle here. I think it's about connecting with something that you think is true or good or right, like finding that in the moment that you're in.
Mm.
Like what is that for you? Um, but man, you're asking, I mean, it's a bit of a mystery, because and that's part of the talent, I think,
Yeah.
of somebody who can be a distraction free person, or seemingly anyway. I mean, actors, we they call it distraction management, that's what we're good at, because we can somehow compartmentalize, or it and
If there
mechanics of that are mysterious even to me, and I do it.
Yeah. What age did you suddenly, um, uh, what age did you decide you wanna do acting?
Yeah, well, I think that I wanted to act, certainly. I'm not sure when I know that in high school for sure. I mean, I started to compete in forensics, which is like, uh, debate and forensics. It's not cutting people up. although I did consider that for a moment. Um, but yeah, so I would compete every weekend and start filling my closet full of trophies doing competitive acting,
Yep.
like little 10-minute cuttings from plays where I played all the characters.
Yep.
And there are tournaments all over the world,
Yeah.
where you go every weekend, go compete against kids from other schools. So I knew I had talent because, it was being verified, and I enjoyed it. I especially like getting laughs. Like, I really enjoy comedy, and I love the feedback from the audience, like that feeling of having people in the punk.
Did you do like a play or something as a kid where someone said something, or
I didn't.
was there any person that was really encouraging?
Yeah, I had when I was I'm trying to remember. I think he was my ninth. No, he was my 10th grade. It's my ninth grade. God bless her. English teacher. That class didn't go so well. But 10th grade, I got this English teacher, and he moved from Kansas to South Florida, where I grew up. And he had run a very successful debate and forensics program in Kansas. And he started it at our school. So it was new. And you know, I was in his English class, and I guess he just thought, "Hey, you seem to be the kind of kid that would like this." And
Yeah.
he gave me some material, and I did. I loved it. I was like, "Oh, I could memorize it pretty easily." That came right away. Like, I have a pretty good memory. Like, I can memorize stuff.
Do you have a technique or you just have photographic memory?
I have somewhat of a photographic memory. Like, I remember what it's supposed to look like physically on the
Yeah.
page. So I know roughly the length. I know, but it's not like exact photographic, like down to the word, but
Yeah.
the shapes, I remember the shapes.
Okay.
So like if we have a bunch of dialogue, I know I've got a big shape, and then you talk, and then I have a small shape, and then a small shape, which means I probably have one line, and then a big shape, which means I probably have 4 or 5 sentences in there. So I can remember
Oh,
that.
interesting. So you like almost like it's yeah, like you remember sort of like like blocks or
Yeah, the
plugs.
Tetris,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can recall that,
Huh.
but then beyond that, I've realized that, what I take advantage of is oral, AUR, oral memory, because I when I rehearse, something I wanna memorize, even if yeah, when I rehearse something I wanna memorize, I say it out loud. There's no memorization that can happen for me if I don't speak it. So, I
Yeah.
speak it, and then I hear it simultaneously,
Yeah.
right? So what's happening is I'm getting muscle memory with how my tongue is hitting my teeth, and I know what it felt like to say the line properly, correctly.
Yeah.
Like, I pledge allegiance to the flag. You know what that feels like. You know what it sounds like. But if I say, "I pledge the allegiance to the fag," then it's like,
Y-
"Wait,
Yeah.
something went wrong." My mouth knows it went wrong because of the muscle memory,
Yep.
and my ear knows it went wrong because of the oral memory.
Yep.
And I'm going, "That's not the song that we know." And so your brain says, "You're not there yet." And so that's how you can train.
So how many actors that have the same sort of that they have oral memory or like auditory memory? Because I've like my memory is writing stuff's kinetic memory. When it
Or so you
when
write it down, you can remember it.
maybe
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
We don't
Well,
even
that
know. I may write stuff down, lose it, but but hypothetically, when it's ever when all systems are firing, yeah, that's how I remember things. So it's fascinating. It would seem like for what you're doing, that's particularly helpful because you have to speak it at the end of the day to begin with.
right. I mean, that's right. And but you'd be amazed how many actors get the script and start reading it silently to themselves, trying to memorize it.
Huh.
And I'm like, I don't know how you would even ever begin to do that. I mean, it's for me, I've got to. And even beyond that, like when I'm rehearsing, say, a play,
Yeah.
which hasn't happened in a long time. Most of my work is like film and television now, where I don't really know where I'm gonna be standing, or you get that on the day,
Yeah.
and then we shoot it and you're gone. But like in a play, you're rehearsing for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you're blocking, where you're going to be standing. So I'll rehearse out loud, also with my movements,
Ah, okay.
because
Yeah.
my movements will jog my memory. Like, oh yeah, when I move to the desk, I say that thing about pineapples.
Yeah.
And when I moved to the chair, oh, right, that's where I talk about the dog, and so the movements then also help, and that's kinesthetic, I guess.
So there's correlative things that happen in your physical surroundings that then inform how you because you're speaking it all the time. So that as an additional benefit of learning that way. I Is this so so are there actors that is this a common way for actors to remember things? Or there's just several different ways, and this is one of the several?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this it's certainly the way that I work.
Yeah. Well, so what happens then when you have something like, can you quote your lines from, say, something you were in a year ago or 2 years ago, 6 months ago? Does it lock it in forever, or is it more like
No,
a whiteboard?
close. No, I have a terrible long-term memory. And I think it's because I abuse my short-term memory so much. My short-term memory is exceptional, or it has been historically. I hope it continues to be, because it's very helpful. It's useful.
Yeah.
But once it's not once I don't need it in my working memory
Yeah.
anymore, gone. I mean, gone. Unless it's beautiful somehow, right? Like
Yeah.
I remember, it's funny. Yeah, I was thinking about this sketch I've been doing for literally now. I'm 58 this year in November, so I've been doing this sketch for 45 years.
Yeah.
Monty Python sketch. Know the whole thing cold.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it.
yeah, yeah,
Could do it now
yeah.
because
Which one is it?
it's in there. It's an odd one, Elephantoplasty,
Okay.
where the guy's interviewing the guy who was basically just they took him off the street and they chopped him up and connected elephant parts to him.
Ah,
Okay,
alright.
experimental surgery. Yeah, he just yeah, yeah, Mister right. Re-examining the frontiers of surgery. And yeah, how did it happen? He said, "A stroke of luck, really. An elephant's trunk became available, and Mr. Humphreys happened to be walking past the hospital at the time." Yeah.
And you will so you but you have to keep going over your head. If you went 6 months or a year without that, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah, you do have to recall it, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right.
So,
You do need to refresh that memory. And you're right. If you don't use it, it's gone.
what was your first movie experience where you were just just like, "Oh, wow, this is a real thing." Like,
Yes,
this
I
is
remember it.
alright, what's the story?
HBO, I'm doing a movie. This is like 2004, I think. It's called, um, oh God, it's in Georgia, Warm Springs. Okay, Warm Springs, about FDR.
Yeah,
He used to go down to the Warm
yeah,
Springs in Warm Springs, Georgia,
yep,
to help his polio.
yep.
So I had a
Where he died with his mistress.
yeah, wow. So it was Kenneth Branagh as
Oh,
FDR
wow.
and Cynthia Nixon as Eleanor. So there were big stars in it, and it's for HBO. So this is my first big project,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and they bring me into the room where I'm gonna be in the little scene with the guy playing Al Smith, the governor of New York, who was like his nemesis. And I'm one of Al's cronies. And so we're sitting there and we're getting ready, and we're doing a little bit of rehearsal. And I just remember I thought, I'm here. Like this is gonna be on HBO. That means millions of people are gonna see this. And I started to kind of begin to think about hyperventilating. And I don't, it's
So
funny.
how did you go
Right. Like, how did I get it back? How did I get it back? I think I was just like, it's a scene. It's just a scene. And I had at that point lots and lots and lots of experience on stage. So I think the stage experience in front of a
Mm.
live audience, knowing that I could handle myself in any situation, because when it's live, stuff happens. And I'd already been through like where people, the lights come up and the guy you're supposed to be in the scene with didn't make his costume change, so he ain't there. And like things like the Alliance Theater, I think the ceiling caved in one night. So, you cut your teeth in the theater in front of people and you begin to develop just a trust in yourself that and you know what, you're the caretaker of the material
Mm.
for the audience. So if you care at all about your audience, I think that has a
But what
bunch to do with it,
me
because like you really want to do this well for them.
Well, do you think how much of it what percentage would you say is you're doing it well for them? The others is that your ego won't allow you to underperform.
Your ego, yeah, I
Well,
mean, you're like
in other words,
back to
this is this
narcissism
e
and
yes.
on the spectrum of being arrogant. Yeah, I mean, you wanna do well.
Yeah,
You wanna show that you can do this, and you know you can do it, but yet now it's time to show that you can do it.
yeah.
And that, you just distraction management, that's one of the distractions is how are people gonna perceive me? It's really none of my business. It has nothing to do with what I'm doing in the scene. But, the thoughts do occur to you, and you have to deal with that distraction. It's like, well, that's not important right now. What's important is Al Smith. And I might just stare at a cigar and wonder, who was the first person who ever smoked a cigar, just to kind of get myself somewhere else other than, up my own butt.
So you're in so e essentially what you're doing, you're kinda locked in almost in mental cruise control in a sense because you know your lines really well. It's just a matter of getting out of your own way to be able to articulate them.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully, your lines, yeah. Because I mean, the preparation, that's the other thing, like, what can stave off, any kind of nerves, I mean, any kind of stage fright in any kind of situation. So, you're giving a presentation, it doesn't have to be just acting.
Yeah.
If you're nervous in front of a group, the best thing you can do is prepare. Like, preparation, that's the best salve for stage fright
What
because you
is
can rely on it. It's
yeah.
foundation.
Well, how does a person know if they are like, for instance, if they're auditory, I don't how did you discover that? Because, I mean, I think it took a while before I realized I had to write stuff out for it to be a thing, and if I was auditory, I would not have figured it out.
I think I did the same thing. I mean, I just, I think I sat there trying to memorize lines and
You
I was like,
eventually did.
I can't do this unless I say them. It's just not going to happen.
Was there anything about the big stars, how they acted, what the part was there anything about that was interesting? Like, your first experience to being around working with
Oh yeah. I mean,
big HBO stars?
so much. I mean, the HBO thing, I was working in a scene with two other local guys. So that helped a little bit mitigate some of my, panic.
Yeah.
But the next big opportunity I think was, or one of my next big opportunities was like, I mean, I almost crapped my pants. I mean, it was like, okay, so I'm on Anchorman 2. So I know I'm doing a scene with Will Ferrell and Christina Applegate. So I know they're there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Will Ferrell, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
But they kept okay, so I was in a scene, I'm like
And you already know Anchorman 1 was a big hit.
big hit.
So Anchorman 2, gonna be a big hit.
A lot of people are gonna go see this movie. And of course, Adam McKay's directing, and at that time, I wasn't that familiar with Adam McKay, but he went on to direct The Big Short, and he won, I believe he won an Oscar or he was nominated or whatever. He's,
Yeah.
very, very well reputed, excellent director, actually. So, it was a lot to be nervous about to begin with. But the scene I was in was I'm the stage manager of the news organization, and Will and Christina are doing the news. So I'm there with my headphones, counting them down and rounding them in. And then the boss calls me over while they're doing the news, and he's like, "Tell him to come up because he's going to fire him." Right? That's how the scene's written. But the weird thing was on the call sheet, that tells you David Silverman's playing, stage manager, Will Ferrell's playing, I forget his name in the movie. Um, anyway, everybody's got their
Yeah.
their name and their character's name. Well, this one just said the boss, and it said the boss. I mean, it was like they didn't reveal who it was. And I went through the whole day kind of, hurry up and waiting to work. And then finally, my time to work, they got me all ready. I'm on set. There's Will, there's Christina. I got the headphones, I got the clipboard. I mean, we're like moments away, and I still don't know who I'm working with. And they go, "Oh, and here's who your boss is." And I turn around, it's freaking Harrison Ford. And I'm like, "Oh my God. Green Han Solo, man. It's Indiana Jones." I mean, I
Yeah.
almost passed out. I mean, I was nervous. Like, oh my god. I mean, and if he and I are like, it's gonna be us, where the scene is me and him. The other 2 were were peripheral to our little exchange, and it's a tiny exchange in the movie, but to me, it was monumental in a scene with Harrison Ford. And so how did I overcome that? I used it. You see, actors use things in their work. So he was the boss, and I was just this little peon. And so that's how I played it. Like, yeah, I was like totally intimidated by Harrison Ford. So I just used it in my characterization of the stage
Yeah,
manager.
yeah.
If I had had to boss Harrison Ford around, I would have been at that time in my career, that would have been challenging. So I just leaned into that feeling I was already feeling.
So what's the difference between now and you said at that time in my career.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously time has passed, but is there anything more than just time passing that
Yeah, I've become more arrogant. That's true. I mean, it's true. I've become more sure of myself, whoever that is. Like,
yeah.
if I'm in a scene now with a big star, and I have been, um, it's like, yeah, if I need to do if I need to take the higher status
Mhm.
on this person, I can do it. Like, I can do it. I had a scene in The Hill where I had to basically school Dennis Quaid, um, and I did it from a place of love and compassion, but, I had to do it, and it was really interesting because I have tremendous respect for Dennis Quaid as an actor. He's a great actor, and, it was really interesting to those are situations that you're just like, I can't believe I'm in this situation where I'm being asked to perform this scene with this actor who I've watched, you know, for decades. But you just hopefully you figure it out, and hopefully the director helps you too, and gives you some help.
So when you, how does this impact you in your everyday life, in terms of showing up authentically in relationships? Because it would seem like when you become a great actor, do you even know when you're not being authentic?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, when you're really, putting it on. I mean, we all have personas. I mean, we're, like depending on who you're talking to, you're going to put on a different mask or
So
adopt a different tone.
sure. Oh, well, so
I mean,
you
I teach, and so there's part of my persona that is, not really something that I would. I mean, in school, obviously you want to watch your language, and you want to, just like if you were in church, you're not going to act the same way you would act if you were out with your buddies playing pool.
but is there ever a I would think if I was a great actor, I might choose to, um, be, I might see that it'd be more advantageous to appear in a certain way, and maybe it would be better if I appeared in a different way
Yeah,
because being authentic would have me be, let's say, upset at the situation. And instead, I do, she really likes Superman Greg, so let's just give her Superman Greg. Like, how do you combat that internally? Because in some sense, you're practicing your craft when you're Superman when you don't feel like it, but you're not being authentic. So how does that
well,
play
I
itself
think
out?
that okay, so I think that the fail safe for an actor is, and it should be, and it is for me, is that your goal as an actor is authenticity. Your goal is not to put on a mask. My goal is to take the mask off, and that's the key. I mean, there are actors that I think put a mask on,
How so?
a little more presentational style. I just it's a feeling I get when I watch certain actors that they hide behind their characterizations. I mean, for the lack of a better, and I'm not denigrating the acting because I think there is an organic thing that comes that meets the mask,
Mhm.
But like Johnny Depp would be somebody that would kind of stick out to me as okay, he's more of a he's going to put up an exterior. I mean, Jim Carrey, they're going to put up an exterior, and then they're gonna work inside out to meet that exterior. Or I'm sorry, they're gonna basically work from the outside in to try to find the person that exterior is.
How so? What does that mean? Outside in?
Outside meaning the
Fake it till you
I'm
make
gonna
it?
present,
Is
I'm
that
gonna
fake it?
present a physicality, I'm gonna present a voice, I'm gonna I'm gonna create a character that
Mhm.
is basically like a mask that hides who I really am as a human being, the act.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna try to find the humanity underneath that mask, as opposed to working inside out, which is where you begin with who you are, and then you try to imagine the circumstances the character's in, imagine the whole act life of the character, who they're talking to. That's Stanislavski. That's the method. And then you're working from the inside of you to the manifestation of all that work, which becomes the character on the outside.
So you're sort of projecting yourself into a future self where you would embody that character. Is that it?
You are using yourself and in imaginary circumstances, and so you're imagining how you would behave, how you would act given what that character has been through, how what they want in the scene, who they're talking to, where they are
Mm.
in the scene,
Mhm.
even down to like what time of day it is, and the little nuances of reality for your character. That those are the things you put on, but at the but the core of it is you.
So so help
So
so
so it's authentic.
so I
It's
think
supposed to be.
so and the but the so I'm having so I feel like I sort of 80% there, but on the other way of going backwards with that, it is it just simply you adopt whatever it is that you're supposed to be and therefore just make it your own by sheer force of will? How does that work?
You mean if you're working outside in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked to the Monty Python sketch, I started with the accent, and started with
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and over the years I've been able to make that characterization, I think, more authentic because I'm comfortable with the physicality, I'm comfortable with the accent.
Yeah.
That's another thing, like getting comfortable with the external stuff.
Yeah.
And then I can find more of the truth of who that person is. It's interesting because, like, we talk about masks or putting on personas, but like costumes are fascinating to me. And you probably have felt it even in not being an actor. But when you put a costume on, it informs things. It changes how you move and the character, that you're playing in that moment, when you put
I
on a
gotta go find
costume.
costumes. I
Yeah,
didn't know this.
it's really cool, if you put on. I mean, I've worn, like, police, costumes. I've worn, apes and really regal things that really make you puff out your chest, and I've worn, low status, costumes, where you really it helps you really feel, the lower status character because you're costumed a certain way.
So then do you think about when you dress every day, do you try to match it to your mood or do you match it to the mood of the person that you wanna?
It's a good question. I think some people match it to I think there's both. I think her clothes make the man. I mean, some people, they can't leave the house unless they dress, like, and, it might elevate their mood. They might have a much better day because even if they weren't feeling it, that they went ahead and took care of the external, and that might inform the internal. Other
Hmm.
people wake up and they want to mirror their internal, and how they dress just is going to be a reflection of that. So, do you dress aspirationally? I mean, like when we go out, if you're going out clubbing or whatever, that's aspirational
Okay,
dressing.
okay.
You're hoping
Yeah.
that somebody's going to see you as a dashing character that is
That's why I wear the cape
yeah, right. But I mean,
and the sword
but
and the horse.
but it is interesting. I mean, how people choose to dress really does say a lot about who they want to be, or who they think they are.
Yes. Um, and you reminded me of 2 things. One of them was a Jim Carrey quote, and I can't get to it. I mean, I can't remember it
Yeah.
exactly, but he was talking about how, like, I've been playing a character my entire time. Even what we saw on stage was really a character.
Yeah.
I mean, what you thought was normal life me, I'm still playing a character. Um, the other one was Christopher Walken, who was being interviewed recently, and he has that kind of unusual cadence sometimes, and I really like him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I learned that in um, from Juilliard or wherever, from
He
dance
learned his cadence?
cadence, how to
Really?
speak." Yeah. And so, and what's interesting was I didn't find him near as interesting without that very unusual way of articulating things. It's kind of mesmerizing and odd and weird and great all at the same time.
Yes.
But when he talks in this interview, which is like a podcast I saw the last week, he talked like a normal human being.
Oh, oh. So he puts that on in
Yeah.
some respects.
That sort of monotone
Yeah,
with unusual dips.
interesting.
I was I was a little bit sad
Yeah,
because I felt like
that's like Cary Grant, he had that very interesting cadence, very iconic,
huh,
but I don't think that's how he spoke in real life.
I feel like someone like Hugh Grant probably speaks like that.
Yeah, well, I think that he does, yeah.
Um, Now, okay, so when you're on set, uh, has there ever been a time when you just said, uh, "This is" we felt incredibly locked in, and this is like, "This is really what I'm meant to do,"
Yeah.
and then the flip side is like when it just all fell apart and you go, "Oh, yeah, no, this is I don't even wanna see a stage and a camera for next 150 years."
Yeah. I mean, I can identify with certainly with, feeling like, "Hey, this is what I am good at."
Yeah.
Um, it's in because there are times when I mean, I remember I forget what show it was, but they saved my stuff to the end. And I mean, you're working, every day is like long. Like,
What ma I thought you just hung out in a trailer
what?
and then,
Yeah, I mean, you're waiting around.
later because
I haven't done that yet, but I've hung out in trailers. I haven't sued anybody. But the days are long. I mean, the typical is 12.
is a lot of
And
hurry up and waiting? Is that what
it's just, yeah, it's the most boring thing you've ever done in your life. I mean, it really is. I love when I'm used. I mean, I love being used, but when I'm not used and I'm just waiting around all day, it's exhausting. Yeah, that's a whole other thing to tell. But the question was about feeling like I'm in the right spot.
Yeah.
Uh, so I remember doing a show and they saved me till the end. So it's a long time to wait around. And that's part of the job is like keeping yourself fresh.
Mm.
Like your energy has got to be when they do call you, it's now,
Yeah.
now, deliver. And of course, the crew's been there all day. They've done the stars, they've done the big names, all those people, and they saved the local yokel for last, right? And you can just
Which was
feel,
you.
yes,
Yeah.
and you can just feel that there's this like, oh my god, like that the crew they want to go home
Yeah.
and they don't know is this guy going to bring it or is this going to be like exhausting? And to get out there and to nail it, like nail it
Yeah.
in 2 takes and to do your job so well that the director's like, "We got it." And the crew so I'm like, we just had that experience. They wrap us, I get, put my clothes back on, I'm heading to my car, and one of the crew guys, like, pulls his car up, screeches the brakes, rolls down the window, and he goes, "You're awesome." And he's like, "Thank you so much." I'm like, "Hey, man, it's my job."
That's
So that's cool,
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and another okay, so one other story I love that I tell myself because, there's so much pain and rejection, and it's so hard. So if you get a victory, like, keep that story, like, don't let people take that away from you. So I'm on the set of The Walking Dead, okay, so this is a big show, and it turned out to be, like, basically one of the most disappointing things I ever did. I was on the show for 3 seasons. I did 11 episodes. I could tell you the whole thing, but whatever. So, but this is one of the good memories. They had us um, in a big warehouse. So imagine a giant, empty warehouse.
Yeah.
And in that warehouse, everybody's there, like the entire crew.
Yep.
100 are in there. And they have it set up where they've got 5 cameras set up. And they almost think of it as like a path. And they made a little path. And along the path, there are 5 cameras catching action at different points on the path. And the actors are going to walk through this path and they're going to encounter uh, zombies along the way.
Yeah.
And they're going to kill the zombies that they encounter along the way. But they brought us in, us being the people that were playing the Alexandrians, it's gone. And one at a time, they gave us our weapons and they said, you start at A and then end up at Z. So first person goes and they had a club and they did their thing. Second person goes and they had a camera and they did their thing. So finally my time comes. So they steep me in blood, soaked blood. And I have a machete. And I don't know. I went into I started to really think I have to kill now. And I had never killed anything. And I'm not a guy who fights. I don't, so for me, this was like, what if I had to kill? And not an intellectual exercise. Like I try to put myself in the mindset of having a kid. And then I started my path. And I kind of lost. I mean, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I went there in a big way. And I was panicked and angry and sad and and it was just a action scene. I didn't have any lines. But I got to the end of the thing and you could have heard a pin drop and then like standing ovation, a standing ovation.
Wow.
And no people weren't getting applause after they were this just work.
Yeah.
But it's like something happened.
That's awesome.
And that was cool, man. That was like, and especially for that particular production, because I didn't get a whole lot to do on that show. So that was I felt like, okay, when people recognize that something happened that is powerful or that moved in some way, that feels good. So that definitely can make you feel like you're doing the right thing. Doing the wrong thing or feeling like you wanna the flip side of that is, let's say, just stick with Walking Dead, just sitting around so much and being like, I'm on the biggest show on at that time, there were 17, 18 million people watching that show. I'm on the biggest show on cable. I'm right here. I'm here. I'm in costume. They passed me, but they're not using me.
Oh.
Like, it's just I don't have anything to do. I just sit there. And I'm so unimportant that they didn't even share the scripts with me. So I don't even know what's happening. Like, I'm literally in the show and I don't even know what they're talking about. So I just looked, concerned a lot because I didn't know what was happening. And I thought, this is just stupid. Like, what are the rewards here?
How do you then emotionally take yourself to where it needs to be when something comes up? Because it seems like
Like,
this is like yeah, because there's like a highs and lows. I mean, it sounds like there's some dramatic ups and downs. Because
you're talking about while you're on set, but it's just in the life of an actor. We're talking about
while you're on,
while you're on set.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, how do you do it?
yeah,
Well, I mean, in the case of not knowing what's happening, a lot of times you're picking up contextual clues. You're just like,
okay,
well, she looks angry, so maybe I'm angry. I mean, you might ask the director too. I mean, obviously, if you don't have any idea what's happening, you're gonna have to say, "Am I the bad guy here?" And it's funny because there were times when I forget what show it was, but like I was completely wrong. Like I thought I was the bad guy, or I thought I was the good guy and I was the bad guy. That kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
oh my god! Like, it'd be important to know.
Well, what if?
But you only get 2 out of the, 60 pages of the script. How are you gonna figure that out?
Why don't they share the whole thing?
Because the lawyers,
Uh,
they don't wanna share it with you.
it
You're not
create a leak
or
or something.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so, um, is there a sense of I don't want to ask because I don't want to appear that I don't know, I should know, but I don't. or, "Oh, I don't wanna get him mad because he already seemed harried, and if I ask this question, I'm just even go further down on his list of people he doesn't ever wanna call."
And there's definitely the yeah, I mean, sure, you don't wanna be the guy that's like, "Oh, I don't understand what's happening right now." You know,
Just
you
that would be me, that'd be totally me, I'm sorry, like, "We don't need you for another week."
but sometimes you have to be that person. It just depends. I mean, you're reading the room. You know, if you're working with an extraordinarily, warm director, um, then yeah, you can do that. But most of the time,
Not so much.
especially on television, I mean, they're just moved so plus, like, and you're so unimportant in general. You're not gonna ask the question. You're just gonna kind of hope that you're doing. You may pick tools in the hope that it's right, and actually, I hope they correct you if it's wrong, because sometimes they don't. You know, you watch some of these commercials, where people are watching sports, especially. These people are looking over here at a basketball game, the other ones are looking over there. That can't be both of those things can't be true when you're watching basketball.
Yeah.
The action cannot be happening at both ends of the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. So if I am going so when you carry this over to everyday life, what is the transferable skills that make you a better at your job, better at your family, better parent, better husband, better, whatever? Like, what are those skills that are there any that's directly transferable? I can do X because of X.
I mean, I think just being able to handle, adversity and being able to handle rejection and just, not letting that sink you, certainly, yeah, that pays off. And it's something you can teach your kids too. It's like, things are not always going to go your way, kind of mostly not going to go your way. I mean, I joke that the name of my memoir is I'm Not Right for Almost Everything, but that's the truth of acting. It's like, chances are you're not going to get cast in this.
How do you bounce back from a rejection followed by another rejection? Like, how do you go, "Oh, I'm gonna relearn" I presume you gotta learn lines before you when you go in,
You're working.
so you're getting
The
nothing.
auditioning's work and you're not getting paid for it. So, first of all, you better enjoy that. If you can't enjoy it, then you probably shouldn't do it.
What's enjoyable about that?
Well, the process hopefully is enjoyable, and then the material too. Because I mean, the fact is, you are playing the role.
Yeah.
There's just nobody else there. It's like your wife, and you're in your house, and you got your basic camera set up, and but you are playing the role. So it's the same thing that you're going to do when they pay you. So is it the paying that makes it worthwhile, or is there something intrinsically valuable to you about playing the role? Now, some roles, no, crap with 2 lines and they were meaningless and I don't care. And you're just hoping you're physically right and you want to do that audition as fast as possible and get it out. But other things where you're like, "Oh, this is a real scene. Like, this really challenges me as an actor." You go through your whole process and you hopefully, you enjoy engaging with your process and encountering yourself again as an actor and hopefully producing a result that when you play it back, you're like, "That was good work."
Yeah.
And that being enough, because that's it. I mean, send it and forget about it because the chances are you ain't getting that. That's the truth of it.
So, when you get the script and it's just 2 lines in a
Yeah.
bad script, why even show up for those?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, the money is one answer. I
Sure.
mean, for 2 lines, you could make $10,000, over the course of a show. You're gonna get paid for being there that day. That's gonna be like 1,500 bucks. They'll probably go overtime. Maybe you get 2 grand for the day. They called you in for a fitting, you get another little bit of money for the day you had to go fit your costume. Who knows? Maybe while you're there, they're like, "Oh crap, we can't finish this today. We're gonna need you back again." Or maybe they see something in you and they say, "Actually, that guy, let's put him in that other scene." And things like that happen all the time.
Yeah.
So it's worth your time to go do the work, but it's hard to get motivated to read a couple of lines that are basically like anybody could do this. And, for me, I'm acting since 1992 professionally. And I have a body of work that they can access. They can play and watch me work. So it does it's challenging because you're like, don't you know that I can do this? Like at this point,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you still have to see if I can read two lines. If it's hard not to begin to feel insulted by the process. So I fight against that, to stay with it, and, as I get older, I think I'm beginning to get a little less, maybe a little less willing to go in and read, like, a line,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You're like, "I've done this."
come on, like,
Yeah.
why can't you just give me, like, a part?
Yeah. Is that because they just have a way of doing a thing, and the way of doing a thing
Auditioning.
is this, and we're gonna make everyone jump to the same moves because that's the only thing we know.
Sure. And you don't want to make waves and you don't want to be a problem child, because you're relying on those people to call you in. We're talking about the casting directors. They're going to call you in not just on this project, but every project they get, they're going to call you in. So that's what you want. You want casting directors that know, well, he can do a great audition and we're just going to send it to him. So you cultivate those relationships over time. So, a lot of times I'll do it just because I want that relationship to stay good and
Yeah.
show respect to that relationship. But it is still hard because it's like, golly, I mean, you've been at this a long time, and like I said, you've got demonstrable experience and credits. Can't we just hire me?
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
You just hire me. And it does happen. I mean, I've been hired a couple times where it was just like, no, we know he can do it, and he's hired. But that's not the majority of my
So I wonder,
experience.
like with, AI is when they're doing these AI,
Yeah,
actors and there's sets, I mean, like, I've messed around with Sora, which is text to video,
yeah.
um, and it's getting fast, so it's getting really good so fast.
Crazy.
How does that make you feel as an actor, a director, producer, but, like, what does that make you think about film and content? Like, how do you look at that?
Well, I mean, it dehumanizes you for sure. I mean, you feel or it humanizes you, which is even worse now, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you just feel like, oh, w we can just so easily be replaced in a lot of these, in a lot of areas of entertainment, but not all, Yeah, in a Marvel movie where people are jumping around, yeah, doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
yeah,
The guy says, "Stop." I mean, okay, so I can watch a a AI character say that, and it doesn't make any difference,
yeah.
because the actor, the real warm-blooded actor who had to say it felt stupid saying it, so you might as well let the computer say it. And then when you go watch the movie, it has no effect on anyone. It doesn't emotionally impact anyone. So those things, I think, I can say, maybe that's okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you want a real human performance, I still think we're not we're it AI is not there yet. And, in terms of writing, I think when I read AI writing, uh, it's amazing what it can do, but it's missing something, there is
What does it
something
feel like it's
missing.
missing?
I think that just the soul, uh, we watched what, Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin in, remember they trotted he's been dead, almost since Star Wars 1977, but they put him in Rogue One, which was 2000 whatever, a CGI version of him, which was really weird and brings up all kinds of, like, ethical, it's,
Is it
questions.
like what they did with Tupac, the hologram things whole situation?
Yeah, well, I don't know how they did Tupac. Did they digitally create him
Yeah, that's what I understand.
and
I don't know anything else.
and animate him?
Yes,
Okay, so yeah,
that was what I read,
just like that,
and at the time,
and
it was
it's
never done.
weird, and but when you watch Peter Cushing in
What do you mean
Rogue One,
weird in that there is a sense of impermanence. It's just not real.
yeah, you watching him and there's just something about him, that's missing.
Yeah.
It's something's missing, just ain't there.
Go.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I guess I'm holding on to hope that I'll never be able to fill that hole. Um, but they might. I mean, they might be able to do it. I listened to a podcast that was generated, your thing, generated by a computer the other day. Somebody like uploaded a document. My trainer told me about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I put in a document in
Yeah.
this program, and it creates a podcast."
That's Notebook LM. It's from Google. Use a Gemini. Yeah, and they you can do it on all sorts of topics, or well, you can take it. The fun thing is just put your LinkedIn bio in it,
Mhm.
and then they'll just two people will have this wonderful conversation about how great you are.
As long as your bio isn't that killed a family of 5, and burned their house.
I would, you know what? That would be really interesting because they're very upbeat and positive.
Yeah.
I would love to see someone
This
do
guy,
that.
oh, wow, he killed a family of 5. Oh, wow. Spent a lot of time on the grandmother.
I have not seen anyone do that. That would be
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
interesting. But I find that to be, spooky. When I heard it, I heard the podcast. I thought, "Well, that is scary."
I mean, it sounds not real, but
Real
real
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes, and 70 to 80% real, way better than anything that was 5 years before, 3
Right.
years before.
But in terms of actors, if you told, what would cast your actors to play podcasters, 80% of actors wouldn't play as well as those 2, computer characters did,
Interesting.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
trying to sound like a podcaster.
Yeah.
Most actors
Would
would sound stilted and it wouldn't work. So they did a good job as far as actors.
Yeah.
Do they sound authentic as podcasters? That's
Yeah. Well, yeah. I 'cause I like to learn that way by feeding it stuff.
yeah.
It's always
Yeah,
interesting.
I heard you can make, like, uh, what do they call study guide
Yes.
and
It'll
generate
Yep.
tests and score
Yep.
tests.
It flashcard will generate flashcard.
Amazing.
Yeah. It
It
is
could
really
do a lot of good. I'm not against it at all, but for actors, it could mean a lot of lost work.
I wonder,
I was digitized.
were you?
Marvel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm violating my, NDA by telling no, I don't think I am. Yeah, I mean, I did, their worst it's a race to the bottom with Marvel, I think, at this point, but I was on the She-Hulk program, which is not good. And I played a part, which was nothing. I had nothing to do. I mean, it was like, I think I'm on the screen for 2.5 seconds. Um, and it was just not a great shoot. I mean, it was just like I had to act against a wall with a piece of tape on it because, they didn't even give me the star to work with.
Oh, so you had to talk to a
I was
wall
there for
pretending it
her.
was
Yeah, I was all excited. I was gonna meet, Tatiana Maslany,
Yeah.
who, if you've ever seen Orphan Black, she's just this amazing actor, and I, loved her in that show, and I thought, "Oh, how cool, I get
Yeah.
to meet her
Yeah.
and her be neat." So they bring me in, and there's a piece of wood there, and I'm like and she's like, "Oh, no, 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 you stay here." And I'm looking at a piece of wood, and I'm like, and it wasn't Natalie wood. It was just a piece of wood, and the Tatiana, she's behind but I can't.
Wait,
And
she was there in person, but you didn't actually get to talk to her.
no, and I'm acting with her. I'm in the scene with her,
But she
but I
didn't
can't
know.
watch her. I can't look at her. I'm looking at a piece of wood. So
Well, who thought that was a good idea?
I don't know. So I act with her,
Yeah.
and she has my voice to work off of, and then when we're done with her coverage, they go off and do something else with her,
Yeah.
and then they wrap her. So she's gone for the day. And then they're like, all right, now the schmohawk from Smyrna or whatever. They bring in the local yokel, and they put me down on her chair. And then instead of reversing, like, normally we would shoot this way, light everything over here, shoot this way, then take a break. Well, they move all the lights and shoot this way. Well, they didn't have to do that because all they do is digitally switch the room around behind me. So I sit down in the very same chair she was in, lit exactly the same she was lit. And then they on the
Which would be kinda weird because he wouldn't really have universal light, right?
yeah, yeah, normally they
Yeah.
move all the lights.
Yeah.
With this, they didn't have to. They didn't move the room because it's not real.
It's
So
like a green screen, giant green screen.
yeah, it's all fake. And so then instead of her, I got a piece of tape on a wall and some guy's voice. I'm like, man,
This is not.
this is so unrewarding.
What? How do you bring?
But I mean, I'm sorry, but
Eh,
they digitized me after that.
No,
So that was the right. So that I'm done with this sort of dehumanizing
yeah,
experience, and then they dehumanized me even more
I'm turning him
by
good.
turning me into a digital puppet. They brought me into a room and they took all kinds of pictures of me. And
Naked or
no, I was clothed. And then they brought me into another room, which was the weirdest room I've ever been to in. Which I walked in, I'm like, is this like Stanley Kubrick's house? Because it was an all white room,
Yeah.
and on every square inch of the 4 walls were cameras aimed for the center. So you're looking at lenses, 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 lenses. I mean, hundreds.
Wow.
And then there's a pedestal in the middle of the room for you. So you get on the pedestal, and then they go, ready? Bling! And all the cameras take a picture of you from every conceivable angle simultaneously. That information then is fed into the MIT graduate's computer, and he's creating your digital puppet.
Actually, he said that it's to China, and they created and then said to it.
Yeah. And so now when Marvel, back in the old days, if they were like, oh, remember that guy, this guy from Smyrna, we need to bring him back because we forgot to get the shot of him going into the Walgreens. So back in the old days,
Yeah.
they'd have to call me, they'd
Yep.
call my agent
Yep.
and say, oh, we need David. We forgot. We had to shoot a Walgreens, and they'd have to negotiate,
Yeah.
get more money.
Yeah.
And then I would drive down there. They have to feed me. They'd have to feed everybody else.
Yep.
They'd have to rent the Walgreens, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But now they're like, oh, bling. They create Walgreens in 2 seconds on the computer. Bling. They bring in my digital puppet and they make him walk into the Walgreens. They don't even call me. They don't call my agent. They don't pay me. They don't pay my agent. Nobody, there's no exchange. They have my digital
Some
puppet.
might are used to your presence. You should be reimbursed for your presence. That's not the way it works.
Well, there's some activity in the union around that. I don't know. I'm a little ignorant, more than a little, of the rules as they stand today. But at the time, no, there was no protection at all.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
And so, like, all right, I guess I just gave you the ability to use my digital puppet in any way that you choose to.
It is limited to that movie, or is it into perpetuity?
You want to hope it's limited to the movie. Although I've had that experience too, where I shot a commercial on the beach for Florida tourism. I was in the beautiful white sand beaches, sugar sand beaches. So I remember it very distinctly because it was very beautiful. And I was sitting there watching television one day with my wife, and this commercial comes on for an airline. And I'm watching this shot of the beach, and it's a very long shot with a person, one person, like tiny, like I'm the size of a chocolate chip. And I said, honey, help me. And Kelly's like, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? It's not you.
Yeah.
How could you tell it's you? I'm like, I'm pleased. It's me. It's me. That's a shot of me. He said, come on. So I couldn't leave it alone. So I go sleuthing on the internet. Turns out the ad agency that did the ad for Florida tourism also did one for this airline. So what they did was they took a shot that they shot of me
Yeah.
on the beach for the one ad, and they used it like it was stock footage for this other ad. And I was like, whoa, no, 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 no. That is not how it works. Like, you're going to have to pay me as if you flew me down to Florida and shot that for your commercial. And I fought them and I won.
Good for you. Is that?
But I caught it by chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they figured most people are like my wife.
Yeah.
And they're like,
You would.
there's no way he'll ever be
Yeah,
able to tell that him. Well, no, that's him.
known.
It's like the Taster's Choice famous story.
No, what's that?
Yeah, I think it might be urban legend, but I'll tell it anyway. The Taster's Choice, somebody comes up to this actor and says, hey man, you know who you look like? He's like, who? It's like the guy in the Taster's Choice jar. And he's like, really? He's like, I never even looked at the Taster's Choice jar. Have you ever really looked at it? Taster's Choice. It's like an old,
Yeah.
I think it was instant coffee.
Yeah. I
So
can't
the
I think it's a green label.
yeah,
I'm not.
so the guys, so they were like, "Did you ever do an ad for Taster's Choice?" He's like, "No." So he goes into the supermarket and he's looking at the taster and he's, "Son of a gun, that's me.
Yeah,
That's me."
yeah.
Turns out somebody shot and they used it, and they had been using it for like 30 years. This guy's been on the Taster's Choice ad thing,
Wow.
jar, not even an ad.
Yeah.
And they and so I think you gotta look it up. I think he sued them and won, I believe. Now I know the woman who burned her crotch with the McDonald's coffee, because I find that to be
That was not
the most frivolous lawsuit of all times. Like, really? You didn't know if you jammed hot coffee between your thighs that that would be a problem?
but I'll say this though, when I heard that whole story, that the way they told it, like she had been there repeatedly and they actually had been told they were
Oh, wait, I don't know
much.
this part. Okay. So she told them?
Yes, repeatedly, "This is too hot, I can't handle this coffee."
Oh,
And they,
that
they also there was like it was like at 205 degrees or something. Anyway, it was way hotter and it was
okay, so they boiled it for her because they were mad at her?
and they
Was it
had, like,
vindictive?
careless disregard, I think, when maybe it was what her turn. But, I mean, she sued and won from a jury just because of their she had documented many cases of her telling, like,
Okay.
"I can't just."
Yeah, I worked in a restaurant one time when somebody I remember they were like, the woman, the soup came back like 2 or 3 times because it wasn't hot enough. So they boiled it and sent it out while it was still, bubbling.
That was on
So
yeah, sending stuff back to a kitchen is yeah, that's the stories are just problematic, to say the least. So, do you have any stories about famous people that you met that are, that would be unusually inspiring or disheartening about
no,
the field of
I
acting?
think I'll tell the ones that are inspiring 'cause,
Okay.
I don't need to get sued for defamation, but
Well, you could just say, uh, the nameless person. I wouldn't say
okay, well, I'll give you the 30,000-mile high view
yeah.
that 99% of the people that I've met in the industry across the board have been really, really nice, like, really genuinely bis and decent.
Even though they're egotistical.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, we're all egotistical, so it's you're in a safe space.
Okay, alright,
You
very
know, now the actors, the crew may not feel the same way I do, because there's a different breed right there.
is there a caste system? Is there a hierarchy?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. And unfortunately or fortunately, the actors are kind of coddled.
Oh,
We are coddled. I mean, okay, from the moment you get talk about caste system, I think it was actually Warm Springs that showed up day one, 5:45 in the morning on somewhere in Atlanta, and I pull into the they call it base camp where all the trailers were set up.
yeah.
Um, Sarah, I'm here. And this woman comes up to me and she's with production. She says, "Yeah, this, you're not in the right place. It's down there. And just, go down there." And I'm like, "Okay, so is it that building?" "Yes, it's that building down there," just like short and didn't want to deal with me. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm very sorry." So I forget why I said something, but I said, "So I think she said, "Yeah, yeah, no, extras are down there, you stupid extra." She didn't say that, but that was the tone.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I'm actually with the cast. Like I have a role." And she said, "Can I get you some breakfast?" That was like that, and then took out the umbrella and put it over me, just because we don't want the sun to hit you. I'm not kidding. Walk around
Really?
with a parasol.
So
Somebody was walking me with a parasol to my, not at that time in the morning, it's a different production, but
but
unbelievable, this switch on a dime, like from dirty, disgusting extra who's beneath me to, "Oh, actor, oh, oh, can I get you anything?" Really weird.
so how is it like director, producer, actor, uh, um, extras, and then those that help the production? Is that the way that works?
No, no, there are I mean, the crew positions, they have their own pecking order.
Okay.
But certainly the crew is right up there with you know, you got the director, you got the director of photography, you got
So that's all part of the crew.
yeah, and then the designers, the heads of the department, they're gonna have a higher status. So the head of the makeup department, the head of the
Uh,
costume department, the costume designer, they're gonna be, and then bing, 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 all the way down to PA, which is production assistant for each department. So each department might have, several PAs. And those are the people that, go get me this, go get me that.
so the
Where you start, I mean,
yeah,
but I haven't seen people be, like, cruel about it.
yeah,
It's not that you see, like, utter cruelty, but it is there and you're aware of it.
more casual disregard.
Yeah, and then, I've been on television shows where the regulars, the actors, and there's a huge gulf between them and, like, the day player actor who's gonna come in and just, work on this show,
Yep.
but not, like, stay with the production
Yeah.
as a regular or even as a recurring, character. So that's why
So
when
you have stratas within that, uh, within actors. You have strata within them, but we're telling you.
oh, yeah, sure. I mean, if you're on a movie with, Harrison Ford, I mean, you're well aware of the fact that,
Yeah,
you guys are making wildly different paychecks and, you're you're not the same status. You're just not.
yeah.
And you have to be comfortable with that and okay with that. Um, and a lot of the actors who are at the higher status have been like extremely generous because they're so painfully aware of that discrepancy. And some of them, you can tell it just, it pains them, and they go out of their way to try to make that up with creating a bridge between you and that person. So I've had a lot of really lovely experiences with big name actors who went out of their way to be nice.
Any good stories?
Yeah, I mean, Donald Sutherland, I work on a movie with him and Helen Mirren, who's a great actors who I really respect. Helen Mirren kissed me on the cheek and told me I was wonderful. And Donald Sutherland, when Noah was saying goodbye, and then Donald Sutherland, it was the next day after we had our big scene, and I'm in a motorhome. I'm going to be directed to drive the motorhome away. This is a movie called, um, uh, oh my gosh, The Leisure Seeker. And so I'm in the motorhome with the woman's playing my wife, and I'm looking out her window, and all of a sudden it's like Donald Sutherland is walking toward us, right? So he's coming to the window, and he gets to the motorhome. He's in, and he says, "I just wanted to tell you that I was listening to what you were doing yesterday, and your work is really wonderful." I was like, "Oh, wow, cool, man! Like,
Wow.
he went out of his way to come over and tell us that. I mean, that's like." So I was like, "Could you like write that down, like on my tryst? Like, record you saying that?" But it's memorable because it's like
Yeah.
that's Donald Sutherland. So those are cool moments. Where people go out of their way. Will Ferrell went out of his way to come all the way across the studio at the end of the shoot. We didn't have any interaction in the actual working. He was all the way over there while I was dealing with Harrison Ford. But all the way across, shake my hand and tell me, "Hey, man, you did a great job," and that's cool. Like, I don't forget those kindnesses.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
meaningful.
that's cool. Hmm. Would you want your daughter to be an actor?
I don't think that there's a reason to say no. Um, if she wants to do it, then it's yeah. I mean, I'll certainly, you know, give her the words of wisdom, things to
Which she won't listen to,
look
but
out for. Yeah, but and I think acting can be just a really wonderful thing, and I think stories are so important. They're like nutrition for there can be nutrition for the soul, and that they do have a huge a huge part to play in our lives. So I feel good about that when it's good. And sometimes, when that opportunity is squandered and it's just shock value or it's just mean or it inspires the wrong people,
oh
like,
yeah,
why do you really want to encourage like bad behavior? Um, that's when I worry about it. So I've had mostly great experiences and some really sort of amazing experiences, and I hope for more. I'm still.
Your longevity as an actor can go until you're what, 100?
Yeah, they're not gonna.
I mean,
They're gonna need you. They're gonna need somebody in your category for die.
yeah,
And then they put on the dead people too. Like Weekend at Bernie.
do it.
They gotta get a dead guy. So, but yeah, they're gonna need actors, and that's why when people say, "Oh, I missed my chance," I'm like, "No, you didn't." And the older you get, the fewer actors there are that have stuck it out. It's really hard.
Because of rejection.
It's yeah. I mean, you're not. The chances of you making a living at this. I mean, I'm a full-time teacher,
Yeah,
and so I've been teaching now for 19 years. And before that, I waited tables. I mean, before that, I just did theater stuff, but before that, waited tables.
yeah,
Um, your chances of making a solid living from acting are not good
yeah,
at all. And so you have to know that going in, that this is probably not going to be like your number one job.
yeah,
So for me, there've been years when it's been amazing. There've been years when it's like, didn't really do that much. Um, but yeah, I mean, the longevity, I think for me, it's been about having another career alongside.
yeah,
And that's been great. I mean, I love teaching. I love the kids I get to teach, and that's been an amazing part of my life that I'm glad I didn't miss out on. And in a lot of ways, I got into acting to feed my soul, and then the irony is, I took the teaching job, to kind of. I mean, I wanted to feed my soul, but I thought, oh well, I'll teach, and it'll allow me to have a full-time job while I'm still pursuing the acting. And teaching has been more soul fulfilling than anything I've done.
really.
Yeah, much more than any acting job I've ever had. Yeah, the relationships that I've had with
Yeah,
my colleagues, and then, just being a part of a kid's life that I teach high school kids, and so I have a lot of, like, long-term friendships now with kids that have they're now, like, in their 30s, early 30s, coming back and telling me, "Hey, man, that you were really important to me at a time in my life when I needed somebody to see my value,"
in some ways, is teaching and acting sort of almost like dichotomous, like completely different?
Well, I mean, when you're
I mean, it
when
seems
you're
like
up in front of the class, no. I mean, a lot of times I feel like I'm doing stand-up when I'm in my
well, I
clubhouse.
guess what I'm
I'm
thinking of,
cracking jokes the whole time.
like, teaching, is such a like, it's all about pouring into this next generation, it's by giving, and it seems very little ego in it. I'm sure there's some ego and there's everything.
Yeah.
Whereas acting has a different, and it's interesting. I wonder, um, like it's almost a complete opposite.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I mean, if you're doing the acting, you can not if you can avoid your ego and not put that first, then the sort of selfless, or it's not really selfless, but it's the authentic expression. That's the thing I'm trying to get at with your students. I mean, you want to find an authentic connection with your students, and have that kind of real relationship that's going to be meaningful. So the same is true with that's what you're hoping for with your scene partners and your acting. So, you
Mhm.
know, I think authenticity is still is something that those two share.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, there's a performative aspect to teaching, certainly when you're doing any kind of lectures or anything like that. Um, yeah, it's an interesting life being